I want you to take a look at something really quickly. According to this study by UNICEF, 4 out of 10 Gen Zers need help with their mental health. Not only that, but according to the APA, 9 out of 10 Gen Zers have said that they've recently felt depressed, anxious, or just really sad. That is frightening, right? But if we're being honest with each other, I feel like those numbers aren't a surprise to any of us, actually. So let's talk about it. Stick around for this video because I'm going to talk to you today about why is it that my generation, Gen Z, gets hit so often with the big D, pause, not what you're thinking, the big depression. And I'm also going to show you some of the things that I use to stave off the big sad and so I can keep on keeping on with a smile on my face, baby. So let's get into it.
People talk about depression all the time. The difference between depression and sadness is just, you know, from happenstance, whatever happened or didn't happen for you, or, you know, grief or whatever it is. And depression is your body saying, fuck you, I don't want to be this character anymore.
Hello. What's up, you guys? It's your boy, I swear I'm trying, and let me ask you something. Have you felt nervous, sad, anxious, or just flat out depressed in the last couple of years? Well, if you answered yes to that question, you might actually be in the majority and not the minority. Or at least very soon it will be the majority, because we're creeping up there. Gen Z and even younger generations have taken a complete nosedive when it comes in regards to their mental health. Now, there are thousands and thousands of reasons and ideas and theories that I could sit here and give you as to why I think Gen Z is so depressed. But for today, we're just gonna focus on my main two. Oh my God, I'm still dripping water from the fucking ice plunge. By the way, guys, if you actually like this type of videos, please let me know. Hit me with a comment, share, sub, whatever you'd like, okay? Give me some motion and let me know what you like so I can keep making more of it and help you get 1% better and understand this fucking crazy world that we're living in, okay? The world has gotten so complex that people like your grandparents genuinely cannot understand the troubles and the trials and tribulations that we go through as human beings nowadays. From the internet to online dating to TikTok, more short form content, YouTube, long form content, live streaming, everything has gotten weirder, more difficult, and definitely more intricate. I mean, Jesus, your grandparents, right? Let's exclude wars. This is where I'm trying. Oh my God, my great grandfather was in the war. Bro, we're not talking about that right now, okay? Assume your grandparents, right? 80 years ago, 90 years ago, what do you think they had to think about when they were growing up? They most likely just had to think about either going to school, doing what they had to do, and maybe picking a nice job in the future so they could support their family. But not only that, they most likely had to make a tenth of the decisions that you make nowadays. They just had to live their life, get through it, and survive, right? But us, we have to decide whether we want Starbucks, whether we want to Uber Eats it, whether we want a hot or cold shower, whether we finally want to do that cold plunge that we've been talking about, that we've been trying to do for weeks now. If I do want coffee, do I want an espresso coffee? Okay, which pod do I want? Or maybe I want some McDonald's coffee because it's free. We don't even know what to pick nowadays. The sheer amount of decisions that we have to make and decide as we grow and as we live has definitely made us more anxious and more depressed.
Man, I don't know what to think no more, man.
Okay, let's de-escalate. Nobody's messing with your head.
Get out of me,
Nobody's messing with your head.
Get out of me,
No, nobody's messing with your head, man. Nobody's messing with your head.
Even though right now it may seem like a normal life to you, you know, you wake up, you get on TikTok, you start scrolling, you buy something from the shop or Amazon or whatever, it's not normal. Your parents most likely weren't raised that way, and your grandparents much less. They had a simpler life. The world was literally less complex. Is this because of the internet? Sure, I've talked about that in other videos, but it definitely has a lot to do with everything that we're discussing right now. And the funniest thing is that you most likely were raised on this idea that having a family, getting through college, and owning a home was the pinnacle of the American dream. Look at me in the eyes right now and tell me that you know 2 people that own their houses at 20-something years old. And if they do own them, do they owe the bank $600K or do they actually own it outright? The American dream is cooked, fellas. I made a video on this beforehand, I'll put it up somewhere here, but the American dream is absolutely cooked. Hopefully I don't get deported for saying that. The point is, the idea that your parents and my parents were raised on is no longer possible for most people. The saddest thing is that you and I, We already know that. And that is most likely why Gen Z has gotten so fucking depressed. I mean, your grandparents could buy a house in the Sears catalog and build it with their own hands for something that would most likely cost 40, 50K. Find me a home that's worth living in for 40 to 50K right now. I'll wait. Because if you find one, comment down below the Zillow link and I'll invest with you. We'll go half and half, my guy. I trust my subscribers. And the sheer fact that I'm making this video right now has a lot to do with number 2. And number 2 is, wait, I think the lens is a little bit dirty. Hold on, give me a second. There you go, that's a little bit better. And number 2 is actually a really interesting one, and it's kind of obvious, but it's just the fact that we actually talk about our feelings more. I know it might be a surprise to you, but Gen Z loves bitching. They love complaining. I mean, we love telling everyone that we're sad and that the world is fucked and that we're never gonna own homes and, you know, yada, yada, yada. We always talk about it. According to the American Psychology Association, Gen Z is actually 10 to 20% more likely to talk about their feelings, emotions, and why they're sad, at least compared to their counterparts of other generations. I mean, when was the last time you heard a boomer tell you that they were depressed and they were feeling a little bit anxious about how the world was in some turmoil, right? They don't really care anymore, at least for the most part. And they actually saw in that same study that Gen Z is much more likely to go to a psychologist or engage in any form of like shrink activities, basically. Which is definitely true. I mean, I've been to a couple psychologists and I mean, they help and I have no issue talking about it on my channel. I feel like 15 to 20 years ago, people that are our age, like mid-20s, late 20s, they would have actually been very embarrassed to admit the fact that they actually go with a psychologist. I mean, just look at Tony Soprano and how he always said that he never wanted anyone to know that he went to a shrink because he would be known as like a lady boy.
About 4 or 5 months ago, I started seeing a psychiatrist. You know, I was passing out and they couldn't find nothing.
Basically a bitch because he's talking about his mental health, which is pretty fucked up if we think about it. No wonder older generations had so much war and shit, you know what I mean? That being said, it most likely is a very positive thing, at least in my opinion, that we do talk about our feelings, because as the years go by and more people talk about how they feel, the world may become a more hospitable place. I really don't think that the solution to our anxiety and depression crisis is to just tell us to bottle it up deep inside, right? Which is actually real advice from people that are a lot older. You know, pick yourself up from your bootstraps, start grinding, stop complaining type of people. Now, what do? Do we just sit back, complain all day and just, you know, die depressed? No, because we're trying to get better on this channel, at least 1% better every single day. So what I do is actually an amalgamation of all the things that I've talked about on this channel. Yeah, I know it might come as a shock to you, but I actually practice what I preach, or at least I try to. I don't make the shit up as I go, I promise. So I'll give you an example. Let's say, for example, you're super anxious, you're super depressed, you're very nervous about something, but you know what that something is. It can be a paper, it can be that you haven't talked to your family in a while, or it can be that you just don't like the way you look physically. What I would do is grab a pen, grab a paper, and start writing why we feel the way we feel. After we get a page, a paragraph, 2 paragraphs, whatever you want to write, after you get that in, you can actually start dissecting your own thoughts. I know it's crazy. We can actually think about why we feel the way that we feel, right? I hope you know this by now if you're a subscriber of this channel. Please, tell me you've learned something. When I'm in deep in that depression hole, sadness hole, whatever, understanding why I feel that way is always my #1 priority. Because if not, we're just gonna succumb to what we actually feel. And then we start working and we start doing stuff based on how we're feeling. And if we act on how we're feeling, my guy, you and I, we're both fucked. We're both cooked. That's not how it works. You have to act independently of your feelings, at least when you're depressed. Because if not, you're gonna spiral and you're gonna snowball into a worse mental state than you even thought was possible. And trust me, nobody wants to be there. Because the deeper you spiral, the harder it is to catch yourself and get out of that hole. So the issue here arises is when you already know why you're depressed and what you have to do, but yet for some reason, you don't do it. Sound familiar? Maybe, I don't know, maybe. So once you come up with the reasons that you're feeling the way you're feeling, troubleshoot. Start some tech support on your brain, on your mind, on your feelings. Write down 2 or 3 possible solutions to do that might help you with your depression or with your sadness right now. And then the hardest part is actually do them. Don't just write them down and forget about them. Act, people, please. If not, you're just gonna be stuck the rest of your life doing what your brain thinks it wants to do, and you're going to be reacting on impulses. And we are not animals. We're human beings. We try to get better, and we have a conscience. Also, super important, whenever I'm very sad or anxious or nervous, I will try to eliminate all short-term dopamine releases. So for example, if you like gardening a la Snoop Dogg, or if you like playing video games for 15 hours a day, maybe don't do that for a couple days and see how you feel. All these little short-term dopamine hits that you're getting are actually ruining your ability to get dopamine out of the things that will improve your life. I'm not against video games, and I'm definitely not against smoking, and we've been over this on this channel before, but what I want you to do is try to focus and be productive on the things that you already know you have to be doing. Because if you feel that you're a little bit overweight, that you don't like the way you look in the mirror, and you know that that bag of Doritos that you're eating right now is giving you some short-term dopamine but fucking up your long-term goals, well then what are we doing? You're just feeding into your own depression loop. So I want you to start writing down what you're feeling, why you're feeling it, and how you're feeling it, and then try to work based on the problem. And meanwhile, do away with all the short-term dopamine hits that you get. It can be smoking, it can be video games, it can be whatever. And maybe pick up a book. Maybe stop watching YouTube, pick up a book, or go run, go jog, go to the gym for just a couple minutes. And I promise you, my dear subscriber, my dear viewer, that you will feel better. Pretty much like I said, all the things that I've talked about on this channel, try to incorporate in your life and see if maybe one of them will help you, because I'm pretty sure they will. So when was the last time that you got hit with the big sad? Was it last week, last month? Why do you think you were feeling it? And what did you do to try to pull yourself out of that hole? Did it work? If it did, definitely write down in the comments what you do whenever you start feeling a little bit sad, because maybe, just maybe, you can help someone out that's been feeling the same way that you felt before in the past. Maybe your solution will help me or someone else that just stumbles upon your comment. So guys, remember, try to keep smiling. Life is short. Enjoy this bitch. And you already know, stay safe out there because it's really, really crazy. All right? Peace.
Now I'm rapping every single day. Great man, smoking on the green ganja. Hey, Sean, I hit you with the spin move. Rotation, different types of water on my neck. Hydration, devil in my DM, shoot my shot just like I'm Rain Man. If we feel